Alright guys, now let's get started on them cinnamon pickles. Now those take several days. I don't remember right now how many. I've got these baskets. I've already cut up several. Y'all know where I was. We got my son moved home and they're just waiting on their furniture to get here, so it may be a couple weeks, but I let some of these get too big and the chickens devoured them. And so today we're going to work on cinnamon pickles. Okay guys, the hardest part to making these cinnamon pickles is done. I've got them all cleaned out, peeled, seeds taken out, and I've made all sticks. And that's the hardest part, or I shouldn't say hard, time consuming. And it's going to be just like I did with the lime pickles. I've got 2 gallons of water. I'm going to add 2 cups of lime. Stir it till it's dissolved, put the pickles in it, make sure they're covered, and let them set overnight on the counter. And that's the deal with these cinnamon pickles, is they do a lot of setting. And that's why they take so long. They're not, you know, maybe 15 minutes a day you deal with them. So, and actually guys, I may end up making a larger batch because I've got so many cucumbers and a whole lot more out there. Okay guys, I've got my 2 gallons of water, 2 cups of pickling lime. You know, what is this? Mrs. Wages. And I put my pickles in there, my cucumbers sticks. And I went ahead, I saw somebody put a plate on theirs to hold the pickles down. So I thought, I'll go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to put the lid on it, set it aside, and we'll get back to it tomorrow. Hey guys, it's day 2 of our cinnamon pickles, and just like I did before with the lime pickles, I'm going to pour off the lime water, just like I did before, and then I'm going to rinse the cucumbers very, very well. And it was very interesting. I had a commenter, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was. Best part was her mom studied at K-State, go Cats. And that'd be Kansas State for y'all don't know. She said it's very important to get the lime off because it's an alkaline, and of course you pickle in acid, so you don't want to neutralize each other. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do now. Now these cucumbers have been setting in the clear water with the ice for 4 hours, and I'm going to drain them. As you've seen me do before, I'm going to make sure that they're well rinsed, and then when I get that done, let's come back and see what's next. Okay, now in the pot that I was soaking the cucumbers in the clear water, I've washed it out, of course. We're going to add 1 cup of vinegar. And a teaspoon of alum. And all we're going to do here, I got to get more alum. You're just going to get it heated up and stir it until it dissolves, which really shouldn't take too long. Okay, when your alum is dissolved in your vinegar, we're going to add the well-rinsed cucumbers. And to that, you're going to add just enough water to cover the cucumbers. Now, what I did is I've washed out this pot after I drained those cucumbers because I'm going to carry it across the room. So I'm going to add the water. I'm sure I've got enough here. I added just enough water to cover the cucumbers. And now we're going to heat this back up, and it has to simmer for 2 hours. Not boil, just simmer. You want to be very careful so you don't break your cucumber sticks. Well, let's get that going. And on to the next step. I forgot something, guys. You're supposed to add red food coloring if you want the darker red, and of course I do. So I've added some food coloring. It says a bottle of red food coloring, but I only had a half a bottle of that teeny tiny stuff. Guys, while your cucumbers are simmering in the vinegar, alum, and the water mixture, you can go ahead and start dissolving your red candies. And since I have so many cucumbers, I'm actually using 1.5 recipe, making a 1.5 recipe. So the regular recipe is 2 bags of this, and I'm just going to do it in a jar. 1 cup of vinegar and 1 cup of water, and you're going to use, remember how much you put in here, because you'll count that when you put the vinegar in the final mixture. We'll get there in a minute and I'll explain that. So I'm going to add a cup of water and a cup of vinegar to this and start dissolving my candies. Most of the recipes that I found say to do that. Some of them say just mix it in, and when you're heating up the syrup, they'll melt in. But I'm going to go ahead and start getting them ready and dissolving them. So we'll be back in a couple hours. Okay guys, our 2 hours are up. Now we're going to drain the cucumbers. This is the vinegar, alum, and water. They've been simmering in that for 2 hours. I'm going to finish pouring this in here. We're going to go over and do the next step. Okay, while our cucumbers are draining, now we're going to make the syrup. And it calls for 3 cups of water. And remember, we've got 1 cup already here in our candy. So we'll just add 2 cups of water. 3 cups of vinegar. Again, we've got a cup in here, so we're only going to need to add 2 cups of vinegar. One teaspoon of salt, and this just happens to be a ½ teaspoon measure, so we'll do 2 of those. A little more kitchen math. 2 halves equal 1. And our candy. I don't know that this step was really necessary after having done it. I think it would have dissolved as I was heating this up, so that was probably an unnecessary step on my part. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm dipping the jar in there, making sure I get all the candy out. And 10 cups of sugar. And I've already got that measured in here. We're going to bring this to a boil and stir until it's all dissolved. So I'm going to start heating this up, stirring away until we get our syrup going, and I'll come back. And I almost forgot, we need to add some cinnamon sticks. 3 inches. I've got 6-inch, so what does that mean? We're going to break them in half. Maybe. I had 4 6-inch sticks. Now I have 8 3-inch sticks. So I'm going to keep stirring this, and this might take just a tad longer because I got to make sure the candy's also completely melted. I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'll come back. And everything's got to be dissolved. Okay guys, I've got our syrup here. Brought it up to a boil. Everything is dissolved. It makes a beautiful red syrup. Okay, I got that hot syrup poured back over the cucumbers. I'm going to cover it and let it set overnight. Okay guys, it's day 3. Now what we're going to do on the third day, my pickles sat overnight on the counter, and now I'm going to pour off all this time you're going to save the syrup. So I've got it in my big stock pot that I cooked it down in. I got a colander in there, and I'm going to catch the cucumbers. I don't know if you can see those, but look how pretty those are. They're getting translucent and that real pretty red. Okay, then what I'm gonna do is take this out, drain all the syrup back into that pot. I got the syrup in this pot, and we're going to the stove. I got my pot on the stove, got it turned on, and you're going to let this come back to a boil and boil for 1 minute. I'm debating about whether or not I'm going to put a little more red food coloring in. I went to the store today. We had to go to town, so I grabbed another bottle because I wasn't pleased last night with the color, or this morning, but it's looking better. So I may end up adding a little bit more red food coloring here. I don't know if it's too late, but if it is, right? All right, let me bring this to a boil. Okay guys, it's been boiling for a minute. I've shut it off. And what you do now is you pour that hot syrup back over the cucumbers. And all I did was I just put the cucumber sticks back in the same pot. You pour that hot syrup over, let it cool down a little bit, cover it with the lid, and I'll see you tomorrow. Woo! Okay guys, we're on day 4. Day 4 is just like day 3. And I figured you didn't need to watch me dump everything in and drain it out, put it in my stock pot. So I've got it over here. You're going to bring the syrup to a boil, boil it for 1 minute, and then pour it back over your pickle slices. Now, I've still got it in the colander only because I wanted you to see how pretty these actually are. And they're almost translucent, and they're such a beautiful shade of red. I cheated. I added more red food coloring. I wanted them a true red. So now that you've seen that, I'm going to shut the video off, and I'm going to pour these cucumber slices back into my pot. Okay guys, it just beeped. The 1 minute of boiling is over. I'm going to turn it off, and what am I going to do? You guessed it. I'm going to pour it back over the cucumber slices. I have them down here on a chair because it's just too high for me to lift, and that's pretty heavy, and pour the hot liquid. So, I'm going to pour it back over the cucumber slices, let it cool a bit, put a lid on it, set it on the cabinet, and then tomorrow things will get a little more exciting. Oh, anybody wanting a Blind Views original art piece? I heard he's already designing the Lollapalooza 2019 t-shirt. Order a shirt. Check with Lola. Alright guys, day 5. You've seen me do it many times. I've already drained the juice off into my saucepan. Here's the pickles. I've got my jars in my water bath canner getting hot. Remember, water bath canning, everything has to be sterile. I got my lids, you can't see them, but they're in a small pot behind the canner on a burner. I'll be getting those hot and simmer as I get closer to time to can them. When my jars are good and hot and it boiled for a while, Then I'm going to take them out and I'll put the pickles in the jars. And then I'll probably do a few and I'll come back and show you what we got. Okay guys, I took my jars out of the boiling water and I filled them with the pickles. You want to get as many in there as you can, but don't pack them too tight. You don't want them to break. And if they're too tight, they're going to break when you pull them out of the jar. I mean, they're going to taste delicious no matter what. But, you know, they're not going to be as pretty. So, now what I'm going to do, I've got the syrup boiling. I'm going to put a funnel in the jar. And I'm going to pour the syrup over the pickles in the jar. And after you get the syrup in, make sure that you do the air bubbles. And remember, you want to use like wood or plastic, something like that, so you don't scratch and crack your jars. And you're going to fill the syrup up to 1/4 inch from the top of the jar. Sorry guys, I got so busy, but I filled my jars with the syrup, debubbled, which is very important. Put my lids on, and in this case I have some of the tins because those are going to be gifted, and some of my tattlers. When you put the metal lids on, you tighten down finger tight, and remember with the tattlers you just kind of very loosely put them on. The metal lids, I'll take them out and they hopefully will all go ping ping, and then the tattlers will tighten down. Alright, when this comes back to boil, it's when you start timing. And again, I've got different sizes. I've got some quarts and some pints, and I think 1/2 pint. So we're going to go with the quarts. We're going to process them for 15 minutes because I've got the quarts in there. Alright, see you when they're done. Okay guys, the timer went off. And time to take the pickles out. No, I got 3 quarts. Oh. Did you hear that ping? Had to stop and get my gloves. I forgot I had tattlers in there. And while the camera was stopped, my other lid's already pinged, so you missed that. That is music to a canner's ear. So, let me finish getting these out and I'll be back and show you what we got. Alright, there you go. That's the finished product. They're just so pretty, the red. If I hadn't already put my lime pickles away, I'd show you the red and green together. They just make a beautiful relish tray. These are going to set here overnight. I'll make sure everything's sealed in the morning, and down to the pantry they'll go. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Now I got another project I got to get started on.